Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Michael and I'm exploring all of the different ways that stationery can bring me joy. Recently I posted a video with my retroactive Techo Kaigi, or retro tetro as I called it, and I walked you guys through all of the different journals in my notebooks in my journaling ecosystem, and I recently got 3 new fountain pen inks into my collection, and so I thought it would be fun to kind of take a deep dive into my ink swatching notebook. So in this video I'm gonna kind of walk you through all of the inks that I currently own, and I thought it would be fun to kind of use the pens that I have currently inked with some of these inks to show you what they're like in writing using this scrap of cream paper that I have here. Just so that you can see what it looks like a little bit different from the swatch, and the way that I've written the color of and the title of the ink and company using this dip pen, so you could see the difference. And then we would jump into just swatching the 3 new inks that I have purchased. I'm really excited to kind of explore these with you, and eventually figure out also how to do writing samples of the inks in this notebook itself. Currently it's just kind of like a little swatch with the name of the ink, but I do think that in the back of the notebook I want to start a second section where I'm, in the order that I've purchased, going through the inks and doing some writing samples, but I haven't quite figured out what that's going to look like. And so for today I can just show you what it kind of looks like with the pens that I have. So this is my ink notebook. It is a Midori MD paper notebook in the A6 size. I have the clear cover on it from Midori as well, protecting some of these ink and pen themed stickers that I have on here. So let's get started. The very first ink that I purchased was at a local stationery store on the Upper West Side of Manhattan called Janoffs. I went in to buy my very first fountain pen, the Lamy Safari, everyone's favorite first fountain pen, in a fine nib. And while I currently don't have this inked with this ink anymore, I will show you what I have in here later. I also bought the Lamy Crystal ink in the color Obsidian, and I wanted to find an everyday black ink. Unfortunately, this was not it because it was very wet and it takes a very long time to dry, and I was smudging this like crazy. And I don't know if it's just because I know that people have mentioned that the new batch of Tomoe River paper is not as great, or if it's the ink itself, but it was just not for me. The next ink I got was from Ferris Press. I was at Nico Neko Zakaya on the Lower East Side. They were having a sale. It was pumpkin patch. The box was orange. It had pumpkins. It was beautiful. I fell in love with the cover of the book and I had to buy it. And so with it, I purchased this Lamy Safari in this cream color to kind of have to ink this ink inside. And so I'm going to show you really quickly what this looks like written with this Lamy compared to the swatch that I have here and the writing with the dip pen. It is a really beautiful kind of orange color. It does have some dark undertones when you let it pool. Although I will say, asterisk, I myself am colorblind, which is kind of hilarious and ironic. I'm red-green colorblind, and so you can take my descriptions of the inks and their colors with a grain of salt. But here is Ferris Press Pumpkin Patch, and I'm gonna write here, Pumpkin Patch, in my Lamy Safari with a fine nib. So here you go, you can see the comparison. It is a really beautiful ink, and I'm excited to get a lot more use out of it when it is more fall appropriate, but I really like the way that it looks. Next, I bought Deatrement Document ink. I got the black-blue color. Black was sold out when I was looking for this, and so I know Jet Pens had the black-blue, and I thought, well, that'll work just as well as an everyday ink. And I bought this TWSBI Eco in a fine nib to use it in, and I have to say, yet again, kind of too wet for me, a little too juicy. Like, I love the color, but I don't know if, again, it's the paper or the fact that the nib was not fine enough for me, but it just really feels like it's soaking into the paper. And so you can see what it looks like here. So a little bit of a hard start. And this is in my TWSBI Eco, a fine nib. Yeah, not my favorite, but is a beautiful color. Then we have the Robert Oster Signature collaboration with the Coffee Monster Co. in the color Coffee Monster. Right around the time that I was getting into fountain pens and inks, the Coffee Monster Co. got this back in stock, and I managed to snag a bottle, and I love this ink. It is one of the inks that I use very, very often. I have it in this TWSBI Eco in the extra fine nib. And this is a common pen to use in my journal. I love the brown. I love how deep it is, or light, depending on how much it's pulling out. And I use this a lot. And so we have here the Robert Oster / Coffee Monster Co. in the color Coffee Monster. And this is in my TWSBI and extra fine. You can kind of see how that looks. I was at Yoseka in Brooklyn, and I picked up Sailor Ink Studios ink number 162. I was looking for kind of a greenish color. This ended up being a greenish gray, at least looking to me. It's a lovely ink. I love the shading that it has. When I was in Spain this past February, I went to many stationery stores. I was in the full swing of my stationery obsession. There was a stationery store across the street from the Temple de Bod, which is a Egyptian temple that is, sitting in a park in Madrid on a hill. And I believe this is called Stationers de Bod or Stationer Temple de Bod. I will make sure to add the actual name. And in that store, I picked up this Coeco Sport in this orange color, which was a special edition that was exclusive to Spain. It is a medium nib, and they had inks that were sold there that are made in Spain. The brand is called Antigua, and I picked up this toffee color. I think kind of inspired by my love for Coffee Monster color from Robert Oster. I thought I would like this as well, and it was quite beautiful. And here we can see how it is coming out of a pen. And so this is Antigua's toffee in a Coeco Sport with a medium nib. Quite a lovely ink. I use this one a lot as well. Then I jumped into everyone's favorite ink brand, Pilot Hiroshi Zuku, and I started off with the Fuyu Syogun, and this is the more cool of the gray, in the Hiroshi line, and I know Kirisame is the more warm, and that's actually no longer being produced. And I'm very tempted to buy one of the bottles that are still available in some shops online, because I know that it soon won't be available at all. And so I might have to bite the bullet and get that. But it's just, I mean, this ink is beautiful. Pilot's inks are amazing. And I can't wait to collect more from this, which, spoiler alert, there's another Hiroshi Zuku ink coming up. Still on the search for a really great blue or black ink, or blue-black. I then got Monteverde USA's Ocean Noir, and that is just a really beautiful ink. I don't know if the properties are coming out perfectly in this lighting, but it is really beautiful. But alas, like other inks, this is coming out so wet. It's kind of insane. I have this in a Jinhao pen, in a fine nib, but it is just, if we look here, oh yeah, just very wet. I cannot remember which Jinhao model this is, but this is the fine nib. And while it is a very smooth writing experience and it is a very lovely color, I can just see myself kind of like smudging the crud out of this. Yeah, immediately as I'm writing, you can see just in that little test, it's very wet. Like any good hobbyist, I hit Facebook Marketplace and saw someone who was selling some inks, and I found someone selling a almost brand new bottle of Diamine Oxblood. That is what ended up getting put into my first fountain pen I ever bought, that Lamy Safari. And it is a beautiful ink, and one that has made its way into my rotation. You can see it here. Oh, hold on, that's actually... There we go. And this Lamy is in a fine nib as well. We can kind of compare how that looks to the swatch. I'm wondering if this one is drying out. It needs to be re-inked. Dominant Industries ink in the color Seaweed. I mean, this is just a gorgeous green. It's beautiful. I don't use it as much because it tends to write a little lighter, but I'm wondering if I take it out of the pen, which I believe I have an extra fine nib, and let it kind of flow a little more, perhaps a medium, it'll look great in writing. Again, trying to find that perfect everyday blue or black ink, I bought some TWSBI ink in black. And I think this is the closest to something that I would really like to use on a daily basis. I then was at Yaseka again, and they had just swatched all of their inks. And I took the Sailor book off the wall and was looking through all of them. And, you know, saw this Sailor Shikiori and fell in love. I have this inked in a Pilot Prera pen in a fine nib, and this is the closest to an everyday blue that I think I have found. It is a lovely, lovely ink. And the color, I'm so sorry I didn't mention before, is, and I'm probably going to butcher this, Nyoi Sumidi. And this is in my Pilot Prera in a fine nib. And you can kind of see the comparison there. And that gets us caught up to right where I am today with the 3 newer inks that I'm going to swatch. As I mentioned earlier, this is a pretty simple process. It is Q-tip, kind of creating a little blob. I use the base of my dip pen, the other side away from the point, to kind of create a more heavy ink dot, and then I dip the pen to write the name of the ink. So let's get started. The first new ink I have is Esterbrook's collaboration with the Coffee Monster Co. Forgotten Iced Coffee. I did an unboxing of this collaboration, the pen, the blotter paper, and here is the ink. And so I wanted to swatch that up today. So let's get started. Interesting, that is coming on a lot lighter than I would have expected. Alright, we're gonna get in here. I realize I probably should have zoomed in a little more here for you guys. Alright, we're gonna let that dry. And then hop back in. While we wait for that to dry up, I do have this inked in the Coffee Monster Co. and Esterbrook collaboration on the Esterbrook Esty. So we can kind of see what that looks like in writing. Woo! I'm just gonna flip this so that I don't. And this is in an extra fine nib. So you can kind of see what that looks like. The variance in color is really, really interesting, from the lightish brown to the darker gray. The shading is really, really interesting. And you can see that you really see it when the text or the ink is coming out of a thicker nib or from this dip pen versus this extra fine pen. Yeah, fascinating. All right, so I think I'm good to turn the page here. I'll just add this little paper. And the next ink that we are going to be taking a look at here, let me just cap this up, is, I told you it would be making another appearance, the Pilotizu Zuku line, but in the color Yamabudo. I was on Reddit lurking in the fountain pen community, subreddit, excuse me, and someone posted a question about best inks, and this one came up a lot, and the swatches were beautiful, and I had to run and get myself a small bottle of this color. Oh, wow, just look at that. Wow. Obsessed. Let's take it in for... Oh, wow. I mean, look at that. Oh. It's just such a beautiful pinkish red. It almost like fuchsia-esque. It reminds me kind of the bougainvillea bushes and vines, or bush that grew outside of one of the homes I lived in as a kid in Florida. Just amazing. And I'll just give it here some time to dry. I do have this inked in my most recent pen. I learned that Muji makes an aluminum fountain pen, and I definitely had to try that out for myself. I believe this is a fine point as well. And so we have our Pilot Hiroshi Zuku. Yamabudo. then here's our comparison written with a fountain pen and the swatch. Just a beautiful color. I mean, definitely in my top 3 rotation since I've purchased it. I feel like this, Coffee Monster, and the Sailor ink, which I'm not going to butcher the name of again, are just my top 3 right now. So we're going to, again, kind of add a little piece of paper to not let this bleed through, and do our last swatch. This is a very, very recent purchase. I was back at the Upper West Side recently to get a haircut and to do some reading. It was a beautiful day last weekend outside in New York City. I went after my haircut, stopped by Janoffs again. The scene of the first crime of, you know, me crossing the line into this fountain pen world, because I knew that they had some Jacques Urban ink, and I've been wanting to try it. I've been looking for a green ink, which I will reveal on this channel hopefully soon why I wanted a really great green ink. I may or may not have a very special pen to put it in, and while I was there, I looked in at their Jacques Urban collection and picked up a bottle of Jacques Urban's, and this is going to be me butchering French now, Lierre Sauvage, which means wild ivy. And I then went to go read in the park, and it was serendipitous that I ended up reading next to a wall that was covered in ivy, in the park next to St. John the Divine's Cathedral. There's a little sculpture garden, and I took it as a sign that the cosmos was in alignment. Oh wow, I have not seen this ink yet, and this is lovely. This is a very beautiful green. I am not regretting this purchase at all. Hopefully it writes in a fountain pen just as beautifully as it looks. Up close action. Just beautiful. Well, that is my complete collection of inks. Thank you for joining me as I swatched my 3 newest ones. And for exploring the ones already in my collection. I would love to know below if you have any experience with any of these inks, what your thoughts are on them. If any of these are your favorite, if perhaps the ones that are too wet for me, you have any advice on why that may be. I would love to hear it. Again, I am pretty green get it, green, to this hobby, and could take any of the advice that I can get. I'm looking forward to, once I figure out and solidify a format, to have you come along on the journey of like testing out the inks in different pens and doing some writing samples in the back. I think that that will be a lot of fun. Until the next video, keep writing, keep exploring the possibilities of the endless page, and I will catch you guys next time.